Stop disqualifying yourself from good, great, and the awesomeness that the divine is tugging you toward. You're not special in that way, right? Why do you think that the universal law or God's principles and promises don't work for you? Why do you believe that others can thrive in wealth and health and impact and happiness, but not you? Look, I need you to say this out loud no matter how you feel. I'm not special, but I am just as connected to the divine as anybody else. Listen, set the intention and go after your passion, cooperating with the divine, knowing that you can't lose with the stuff that you use. Why? Because, and I learned this through Success is Spiritual, there is no need to toil for success. It doesn't mean that there isn't work, and it doesn't mean that we don't specialize, but we aren't working for success. Success is our starting point. What's good, Elevation Nation, and welcome to the Elevate It podcast, where the IT stands for inner tugging, and we elevate emerging leaders in self-awareness, love, and leadership. I'm your host, Christian. Now let's go. Listen, this episode is all about setting the intention to go after your it. And if you've been around us for just a half of a second, you'll realize that it is your inner tugging. It is the divine. It is source, God, beauty, presence, whatever you want to call it, right? And our guest, our special guest, is more than qualified to talk us through this. Listen up. He is a licensed barber stylist, as well as a certified workforce development professional. He has a resume that is longer than my locks. I'm telling you, he has worked in the government sector, education. He's trained in career empowerment coaching, life coaching, mental health awareness, and trauma-informed care. He is amazing at helping people connect the dots in their life. And I am a personal witness to him being a great table setter, right? Introducing divine connections. Listen, I could say so much more about this awesome brother, but I invited him to talk to us because he follows the leading of the divine. Come on, somebody. Y'all with me on that one, right? He's not new to this. He is true to this. Elevation Nation, I want you to help me welcome to the Elevate It podcast, none other than Soyica White. Listen, I need y'all to put y'all emoji hands together and do whatever needs to be done so that we can go ahead and welcome my brother into the podcast. What is good, brother? Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm wonderful, man. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, excellent. Certainly a pleasure to be here, man. Coach Christian, and especially to talk about, our topic today. Um, Basically, it's all just a process, and we're all
Yeah.
experiencing that, and especially allowing me to speak at this. Let me say this at this aging stage, because our perspectives
Okay.
shift and change, and we're always, we got to be fluid with life. So I certainly appreciate it.
Man, look, it's an honor, and
Yeah,
I've had a joy. It's a newer relationship, but man, I feel like we're brothers from another mother.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
We
mean that,
connected.
man. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
Yeah, your vibe is amazing, and I just salute you and salute your wife, and just excited for this journey. But the people didn't log in just for me to give you accolades, you to give me accolades. They want to talk, they want to know some things. So first, let's just get right to it,
Mm,
and I want to go into this uniqueness. And look, when we talked about this at the very beginning, I just thought it was so unique how
mm,
you have a journey that really took your passion and skill set in barbering and coaching, and you
mm,
intertwine them. Listen, can you give us, Elevation Nation, just
mm.
a little story that give us the background to that, to kind of see what led you here, what divine tugging got you to this point?
Oh man, thank you. Yeah, and I'm thinking, where do I start? Because it's because on one hand, I have to say, I have to give uh, thanks to our Creator, because it's inherently planted in me to do exactly what I'm doing today. So,
Hmm.
so technically, I guess that's our start. But it
Hmm.
was me who had to step into it and activate it. You know, as we, um, begin to as we get older and we live life and we take some risks, we begin to recognize some of the things that we're gifted at, the things we're talented at, and that we owe it to each other. On this earth, we weren't brought here to take up space. So for
Hmm.
me, I'll just say if we want to call this a nutshell, um, 12 years old, I remember a particular interest in barbering. I would go get my hair cut, and I would get my hair cut, and then afterwards, I wanted to sit and watch the other barbers work because I couldn't believe these guys were. I didn't even think of it as work, but
Mm.
something inside of me was like, "Man, I think I can do that." So you know, uh, and me, I'm thinking everybody can cut hair, right? Everybody can do this. But then I realized, there's people that can do a thing, then there's people that are made to do a thing.
Wow.
So,
That's a word, y'all.
um, so, I'm not saying people are, I'm not better, I'm not some master or anything. I'm just saying, we're all gifted in some particular area.
Mhm.
For me, barbering came easy. By the time I was in barber school, and by the way, I did cosmetology as well. So, you know, I realized it came easy to me. Like I didn't work hard. I passed both all the exams first time. So it was just like, wow, okay, this is. But it was friends in the neighborhood who would. And here's another thing, man. I always say this, and we've kind of touched on this in the past, but whatever your gift is, people will ask you for it. That
Wow.
is your that's like your I consider it like your confirmation, if you will. I
Mm.
don't I always say to people, hey, what do people ask you for? And I don't mean just because they're lazy and they don't feel like doing something. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, look, if you bake cookies and this person asks you, this person over here, and it's just flowing,
Yeah.
maybe there's a clue in that. Maybe you need
Wow.
to. So that's kind of how it was with me and cutting hair. Like I said, it
Come on,
just
coach.
was a natural thing.
I gotta
So,
stop you. I gotta stop you. Don't lose your
oh
spot
yeah,
though, because this is good. This is
yeah,
good coaching, good conversation right here. So
mhm,
because we talked about an area of the intro, we talked about an area of look. It's not necessarily about a toil, right? This success part is spiritual. It's a
yes,
starting point. So with
mhm,
Elevation Nation, we don't believe in an area where like we believe that there's nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. So you don't come here in an area where you're a horrible person, you're sin conscious, you're dealing with all those things. You're here, you arrived on the area of assignment, and so we're connected to the divine.
mm,
That's that inner tugging,
mhm,
that area, that place that
yeah,
we operate from. So again, it's not just making sure when you talk about everything that's easy. What I'm interpreting that is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's like
mm,
it's an area where that divine is an area of a leading, of saying, look, this is something that I see that I'm gifted at. It doesn't require a toiling. It
mhm,
blesses God and man, right? And like you said, there was a call for it in the earth, right? So that was the area.
yes,
So I want to encourage Elevation Nation. Like if you're there and you feel like you're toiling, you feel like you're in a place where you're like, you know what, I'm gifted at some things, but this may come easy or this has been hard. It's okay to do self-examination, to sit within and really go back to the starting point. He said at 12 years old. Now I told y'all his resume is as long as my dreadlocks, okay? And so it's long. And we even have time to go through that. I'm telling y'all, trust me when I say this, right? But it's unique because since 12 to now, I would bet there's so much that he's accomplished, but there's a tugging, a passion connected to barbering and coaching
mhm,
that seemed to come with ease, not work without work, but with ease from his
mhm.
being. All right, go ahead, coach.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, man. You just said it all right there. I'm kidding. But no, it really um it was such a natural thing. And so here's the thing, man. Sometimes we run from our gift. Sometimes we
Ooh.
we think that we, for whatever reason, doubt, fear, anxiety, worry, whatever you want to call it, people telling you, oh, that's not a good idea. That's Why would you even do something like that? You can go over here and do this, and that's easier, right? Um, when we decide to step into our gift, yes, like you said, it is not easy because now you have to refine and develop this thing. So there were times where I'm cutting hair and I'm, and I had to get out of that mind frame of comparing yourself to others, that,
Hmm.
because every chef is not the same, every barber is not the same, every
That's
whatever
good.
you do is not the same. We're all
Hmm.
we bring something unique to this industry or this earth, really,
Yeah.
that produces something of value, so that is needed on this earth. So long story short, went to college, studied. I was a sociology guy, and because here's another clue: I loved people. So first it was the
Mm.
cutting of the hair, and I couldn't figure out why people were sharing their life with me as a teenager, and I'm like, man, I'm not really. So I'm not asking, and I'm in a non-judgmental space. I've always been.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was, I didn't know anything about coaching as a teenager. Nothing like that. So again, studied, learned more about people. Man, I cut so much hair through college. I'm glad I graduated because it felt like I was cutting more hair. So and I mean, developing relationships along the way. So a lot of the people that I was cutting in college, I still cut their hair. I still see them. We still communicate
To this day.
to this day.
That's
Yes.
powerful. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
A couple friends. One of them, I said, "Man, it's almost 30 years
Mm.
that I've been cutting your hair."
Wow.
you know. So again, that's the important thing: relationships as you go, because you never know who's going to help you develop or you help them develop in their
Yeah.
gift. So
Yeah.
it goes both ways. But
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. Ended up working in social services. That's behavioral health.
Hmm.
You want to call it social work,
Yeah.
developmental disabilities. Then I got I became a trade school inspector. Spent a number of years, first few years out of college, nonprofit, then the rest was government.
Hmm.
And and I didn't know that I was being developed,
Groomed. Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
my interests would change. And I'd say, I'm gonna try this over here. But no, it was like building a set of stair steps, man. And I was just getting better with the barbering side, and I'm getting better with the people side.
Hmm.
And then finally, I said, I don't know where this is leading, but I'm gonna just do it.
Wow.
I love writing, I love painting, I love drawing, I love being a visionary. Like, so all
Yeah.
these things went into it.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to pay attention to the clues, because
Hmm.
we have so many distractions out here
Wow.
that the very thing that's right in front of you that you were made to do,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the distraction comes and it's nah. Pay attention to the clues along the way. Again, people will confirm your gift because they'll ask you for it.
Yeah.
So there are several pieces and people that have played a part in my development.
Let me stop you real quick because, all right, because we've talked about this on the Elevated podcast, and I've shared my transparency even about the I'll say the external validation. Okay. Because there is a place for me, and I'm gonna talk about for me, Soyica, is how
Hmm.
I would look so much for the external validation that I could shift what's going on because I'm looking for that. It was almost like a high, right? So if you're like,
Hmm.
man, Christian, I think you'd be a good pastor. I think you'd be a good this. I think you'd be good that. Now I go back and I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to do this or I need to do that and find myself going here and there. So I want you to speak a little bit too, because there's nothing wrong with, it's not a bad thing that there's external validation, but it sounds like to me, and you can correct me or you can unfold from this place that, okay, there's something in the inside on me, and I understand what's going on at this level. I'm learning this, I'm developing this, and people serve as an affirmation or confirmation, right? Versus
Hmm.
a validation of what I'm good at, right? There has to be a connection for it to be healthy, to be that I have to connect with the divine, that inner tugging leading there. And then there's an area where I'll put it this way. All right. Divine inspiration leads to demonstration.
Mm.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
um it's So we got to ask ourselves, what is the divine inspiration that we want to demonstrate in the earth? And then we're following from that place to see, like Soyica is saying, okay, so I'm a life coach. We went through relationship coaching. I do preaching and teaching and speaking, right? As I'm operating, I'm cooperating with the divine, releasing those things in the earth realm. Now Soyica comes along and says, hey, bro, man, that's powerful, man. Look, I appreciate that time that we spent together. You really spoke some life into me. You really did this. You really did those type of situations and things, right? And so that starts to be a confirmation that from what I've already dealt with from that divine intervention, that divine tugging. Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally, and it when the calling, see, there's no set time of when the calling hits you. You know,
Woo!
it's you could be in a place and it makes no sense at all, but you get that it's time to go. You know, it's time to move. It's
Yeah.
time to do that, and you can't explain it. You just all you know of what I suggest people do is pay attention to it, and please, please, please take that step, because you know in your heart, you know, and I call it our inner GPS system. You know, and what I mean by that is instinct, intuition, discernment, creativity, curiosity. I take those five right there. We all
Hmm.
have it. We all have it.
Hmm.
But paying attention to those things, you're creative. Yes, everybody's creative. Man, I'm not creative. I'm not asking you, can you draw or paint? You may creatively solve a different type of problem. You know, be curious, because that curiosity, you know, think about it. You know, just you have something's calling you in that direction.
Yeah,
Go ahead
yeah.
and be curious. See what that's all about. When I'm career coaching people, go talk to people that do what you think you want to do. You know, if you feel like when I wanted to be a barber, I went and hung around barbers, and I'm like, hey, you know, if you don't, I'm interested. How you until one? I remember this guy. He taught everybody how to cut hair in town, and he's like, looks like you want to be a barber. And I'm like, yes. He gave me my first pair of clippers, like
Wow.
professional pair of clippers, which
Hmm.
I still have to this day. And we're talking like 92. You know. So
Wow.
yeah, I still got them.
Wow.
So he said, okay, you know, and he lets you practice. He said, okay, you know. But so surrounding yourself with people you know, that do what you want to do. But back to the validation piece, there is that piece of me that wanted people to see, like, am I good at it? Like, am I as good as I think I am? So
Yeah.
there is that piece, you know, as you go, where you're going to say, you know, I kind of need somebody to tell me like it's good, you know.
Hmm.
But many times, like I said, people will confirm it even when you're not even thinking about it. You know, you're
Yeah.
minding your business, doing it, and people come along and say, "Hey, man, you're doing a really fantastic. Like you got, or you're a natural." You know, and
Mm.
so all that to say, you know, this whole process of development, embrace it. You know,
Yeah.
we learning to embrace it is another big piece. Because, like
Hmm.
I said, who was that? Noah tried to run from it and say, you know what? I'm gonna put you in a quiet place where
Yeah.
I can have your ear, you
Hmm.
know, because this you're trying to run from it. We need you to focus on this.
Yeah.
And finally, I made that investment, went back to school, and it never ends. I'm still a student of the craft.
Love it.
You know, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we're talking about the area too of setting intentions. So I want to know for you, what does it mean to set an intention, and why is that crucial for the emerging leader?
So we're talking about making conscious choices
Hmm.
that you said it earlier, keyword alignment, you
Hmm.
know, aligning with our values, aligning with our priorities,
Hmm.
our long-term goals, being present and deliberate, you know, in our actions, um, rather than just reacting to life. Like, jump in and get involved, you know,
Okay.
get in your thing that you were brought here to do.
Yeah.
um, Trying to think. So when you're living with intention, um, you're essentially designing your life with purpose. and that is my big thing. And I said, I was talking to clients earlier today, living in your purpose. It's gratifying, but it's not easy. It's
Mm.
because you got to withstand the tests that come along the way.
Wow.
But if it truly matters to you and it really resonates, it's in your spirit, it's in your gut to do, um, nothing can stop you. And
Mm.
really, I realized this myself. The only thing that could stop me was between this ear and this ear, this thing in here.
Right.
you know,
Right.
because I would psych myself out, talk myself out of stuff, and I'm like, and then you do it, and you're like, well, why didn't I? I could have did this long time ago, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's when we're ready. We have to be. So I think life gives us the opportunity. Our journey gives us the opportunity to prepare to be ready for a thing.
Wow. I
So
love that.
stepping into that intention, definitely, it's crucial, critical to our purpose.
I love it. You spoke about the word, you said alignment, right? So,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
what steps, practical steps, we're coaching, right? Would you recommend for somebody who's looking to align their actions with their purpose?
Um, Several things come to mind. I'll start. One thing that I definitely with people start with is clarifying.
Okay.
Let's get into clarifying um, really your values and your priorities. Um, Understanding like what's important to you, whether it's your relationships, your career, your health.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said earlier, creativity. Um, when you know like your core values, like what matters to you, that thing that burns inside,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
easier to make decisions that reflect those values. So first thing
Mm.
for me is always let's clarify. Sometimes depending on where I meet people where they are, that's sort of I say that's what barbers do. We meet people where they are. So that's what
Wow.
barbering taught me.
Mm.
So sometimes it's starting with clarifying. Sometimes it's starting with who am I?
Hmm.
That's a whole that's
Ah,
another that's probably not another episode.
that's a whole episode right there.
Yeah. So
Mm.
so yeah, that's the first step.
I'm sorry. Let me come on. We
Yeah.
can't let that go. We got to go there for a little bit. This commercial break. We'll come back to that, right? But this is why this is so important. This came out in a coaching session that Lanisha and I were in last night. And that knowing who you are and what you have at the
Mm,
starting point is a game changer. And
yeah.
again, with the external validation in my own story, like it was so many things that I just put in somebody else's heart, somebody else's mind, somebody
Mm,
else's control. I gave so much power away because I didn't sit and do the inner work to realize what I have, who I am. Look, the word I am, we look in the area of Exodus and realize
I
that,
am.
right? That I am the
Hmm.
great I am. That's within me. So
Yeah.
even when we come to purpose and you're watching, you're like, yo, I hear what you guys are saying. I feel like I'm gifted at this. I'm talented at this. I'm dealing with this, but I'm also
Mm,
at a place where I'm not sure what my purpose is, right? Because that's a big buzzword too, everybody. I want to know what the
yeah.
right purpose. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I want to make sure that I'm making the God, source of divine happy, so forth and so on. And
Mhm.
the thing that I realize is we have a gift called free will.
Oh.
Oh, the preacher in me just wants to come out, right? And that's a
Woo.
gift that we
Yeah.
are given. And I'm realizing that if I want to just sum this thing up to put a blanket on this thing that everybody can be covered with, right? Because
Yeah.
that truth, that absolute truth, it has to work everywhere beyond religion, beyond culture, beyond gender, or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is that blanket is I'm an expression of Christ in the earth realm.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
part right there, like when we even look at again, no matter what your belief system is, you guys
Yeah.
know where I sit, but looking at Jesus the Christ, Yeshua ben Joseph, he's Jesus the Christ, Jesus fully man, but Christ that's within. And so looking
Mm,
at Jesus as a model to say, hey, look, you are the Christ. If you watch him, he's not pointing to himself. I'm coming to do the will of my Father. My Father and I are oneness, right? It's the area that
yeah.
tugging. He's meditating, he's reflecting, he's doing these things. There's a fulfillment, there is pleasure within Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus the Christ. We are an
Yeah.
expression of Christ in the earth realm. So what does that represent? That's love. that's joy, that's peace, that's divine, that's helping us get in the area of releasing goodness, greatness, and awesomeness in the area of the earth realm. So if you want to pick up a pair of clippers, pick up a pair of clippers. If you want to pick up a shovel, pick up a shovel. If you want to come out there and you say, I'm coaching, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but what betterment, what is it that you're releasing in the earth that's going to continue to remind people of their Christ consciousness
Yeah.
and how to move forward in there. So that knowing who we are, because the social media world, and you notice one thing, brother, about you, I notice you're not on every social media platform. That's one thing I haven't noticed about. I don't know how deep you want to go in here, what that means to you, but I've honored it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's different platforms. We're talking about, I'm like, oh, you're not on this, oh, you're on this. I also see the way you govern your time. You travel all throughout the weeks, but I hit you up on the weekend and you made it very clear, this is wifey time, right? So even
Right.
looking at the area of how you're operating and what you're doing, you, Soyica White, are clear on who you are and what you get to express in the earth. What would you say to somebody who's saying, that's my desire, I want to embody that? How do they get to that place? Or are they already
Oh
there?
man. Again, that whole starting point, meeting people where they are. I'll tell you this, and this goes from years of working in the social services realm, the educational realm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people already know what they have to do.
Mm.
I realize that. In terms of coaching, again, our job is not to tell people what to do.
That part.
It's to help people navigate what they know they already need to do. It's like, okay, you want this, you got to go through this to get there, and sometimes they don't. And they just need that. I'm not a researcher, so I don't know, I really have to learn how to research and build relations, all these things, that we get into. But many people know in their heart, to some degree, what they need to do. It
Mm.
may not be what they want to do, but they know. Many people know what they need to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, if they want true change,
Yeah.
and that they're open and willing to be in a new space, because there is this degree of comfort, which again, I don't know if that's another episode, but there, being comfortable, and
Yeah.
I say when I'm coaching, is it's not about being comfortable.
Yeah.
It's an
Mm.
ongoing process. If we're talking about living with intention
Yeah.
and getting into living in our purpose,
Yeah.
there's very little time for comfort, you know.
Mm.
And to be quite honest, now that I think about it, when you're gifted at something, there is a degree of comfort,
Okay.
because you're operating from
Okay.
your core being, and it's not hard for you to be. I remember I did a example, first hair show I ever performed on stage.
Okay.
This is 15 years ago, and I was really nervous. I love teaching.
Mm.
I got an adult teaching certificate,
I told
but
y'all, as long as my locks. I told y'all.
no, it just so. um, I love teaching. I discovered that later in life, so went ahead and did what I had to do to get those credentials. But what I realized when I was on that stage, I was nervous until I started doing the thing that I was born. That I started. People would hop on stage and they just asked you for any type of haircut. There was no script. So once I
Wow.
started doing what I was doing, I totally forgot about the hundreds of people that were out there looking at you, looking at me. I
Mm.
totally forgot. I was so comfortable, but I was challenged. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was like the environment was challenging. People are asking me questions, and so I'm learning, how to answer a question while I'm working and not, balancing that. But there was a degree of comfort,
Yeah.
so, but there is that other side that I was talking about where you got to be uncomfortable. I could have said no to that opportunity,
Yeah.
because initially I was like, oh, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I don't know that world,
Yeah.
but sometimes you got to say yes when it comes to developing that gift, refining that gift.
Wow. You said something that is powerful. It reminds me of something I learned last night, again, in this same session. Shout out to Success is Spiritual and his coaching that Lanisha and I are being trained through. But our coach said last night, she said some people suffer or they are facing the Pink Panther syndrome. So I learned this last night. Okay, I'm giving credit. All right, this is not original for me. I got this from Dr. Sequita Sutton. Okay, but she was speaking about how the Pink Panther syndrome. When you hear that da 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 da, like everybody can go ahead and hear that, and they familiarize themselves with that, and we can unite about that. She said, but when you realize that even though everybody has that familiarity of what that is, when you look at all the various pieces, that you realize that there is a live orchestra that is there present pertaining to this, and you realize that there is a saxophone solo that's on that area, that people are just snapping their fingers in the background. It's a whole lot of things that are going on. But the uniqueness thing, that the thing that stuck out to me about this, Soyica, is that that conductor's back is turned to the audience and focused on the
Yeah.
thing that he's designed and assigned to do. And so we were left with the question that, are you willing to temporarily sometimes just turn your back on the crowd, so to speak,
Yeah.
to focus on the craft, to focus on what it is that you're bringing, to focus on where you are? Because the crowd is going to come, the dollars are going to come, the opportunities are going to come, the compliments are going to come, but will we like zero in on our craft? And so when I hear you talking about being on stage and being at that place of being in your craft, like, yes, the intimidation, all those things externally hit us, but we have to be able to be in that zone to realize that da-dun, da-dun, like all the pieces that come together pertaining to this. And so it's that Pink Panther syndrome that we're sitting with. And I just want to encourage emerging leaders, as you're watching and listening, like, I'm with you, right? I'm not above this, below this. We are in this together, to realize that sometimes in such a loud world where different things are tugging at us, we just got to go back to what the basics are, go back to the in the beginning, the place of unlimited possibility, and just release those things. And like Coach is saying, Coach Suika is saying, listen, I need you to pay attention. That's the demonstration. But are you starting with the inner tugging, the
Yeah.
it of caring for people, man? So thank you so much so far for even sharing what you're sharing, brother. What's on your heart?
Yeah, and you're touching on many things that, see, we hit this energy, and you're saying stuff and I'm saying stuff. So thank you so much for that, Pink Panther. Man, that's really wonderful illustration there. Um, Establishing boundaries, that's another thing. Which, as you were talking, I had to set when so as I was exiting government service a few years ago
Mhm.
and going into starting my own business. First of all, I didn't know how to execute my business, so I found some advisors, surrounded myself with people who are branding people, marketing people, business professionals, management. And I always say management is key to life, because
Mhm.
once we learn how to manage something effectively, it's like, then you may proceed, because
Mm.
you can't look, if you can't manage $10,
Oh,
a
ouch.
hundred, 1,000, 10,000. Come on,
Jeez. Coach.
I, I'm not saying people. It's a development process, is
Hey,
all I'm
say
saying.
it. Say it.
So, but having discipline and setting boundaries was
Mhm.
another piece, a key piece. So, for instance, for me, when I went and started my own business, I said, okay, no more than 90 minutes of TV, internet per day. No more than 90 minutes per day. I set that boundary. I'm going to exercise, stretch, meditate
Ah.
several times, at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh.
I'm going to change my eating habits. I'm going to bed at a certain hour, and I'm waking up at a certain
Listen, I didn't invite you on here to talk about all the things I need to do. Okay, no, no, go ahead, keep going, keep going. This is good. This is good. Go to bed at a
But
certain hour.
I had to set those boundaries for myself first,
Yeah.
and then everything else. So when I left, I immediately I went back to school. I did some life coaching programs. I did some uh, workforce development programs, and I just focused for like not for I think it was like 3 or 4 months straight. So I needed those boundaries set because if anything were to interfere with I knew what I wanted to do, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now.
Wow.
I know that for a fact. And that came from the divine, our creator was like,
Yeah.
look, if you want to do this, you're going to have to sacrifice some of the things that you like to do. So 90 minutes, like I said, had to set some regimens.
Mhm.
But here's the other piece that I discovered. It allowed me to protect my time and energy,
Mm.
protect my time and energy for the things that mattered most. And of course, family, you have all that stuff. Yeah. But saying no to learning how to say no to the things that
Yeah.
didn't align with my values, or that drained me, it would drain me, it was an important part of living with intentionality.
Yeah. And
Um,
yes.
so that's another key piece that I
No.
had to add to that.
I love it. You are, look, you're hitting again, you're in my life because they're the very things that I'm processing even now, especially you talk about health in the area of eating, and saying that, look, I believe that what we experience on an external level is just it's a demonstration of what is really going on the inside. So again, if we're having financial difficulties, if we're dealing with this on the outside, or we're doing all these type of things, we have to look within. And so
Yes.
that discipline that you're talking about,
Mhm.
like, that proves to the universe, that proves to God, that proves the source that, look, like, you are managing well what I've given you. And the scripture talks about the parable of the talents, and even more I'll
Mhm.
give you. Or if you're not, then we realize that it can be taken away and given somewhere else for
Right.
mismanagement of that, man. So
Mhm.
look, it makes sense to me as to why you are as successful and thriving as you are. And there's something that I told you I would never forget that you shared with me. And so I want to transition to this as well, because I want to encourage you to. I'm asking you to speak about this area of patience and persistence,
Ooh,
because when you and I met the first time, I remember where we were at Athena's,
yeah.
and we were out there
Uh,
drinking some healthy beverages, and
right.
that's what it literally was. There's nothing else, just literally healthy
Yeah.
beverage, right? And you told me that you had this 1,500, I'll call it this 1,500 man mark. That's what I'll call it, okay? Where you
Mhm.
said there's going to be 1,500 people that you are going to meet in a year, and
Mhm.
you set that intention, and to my knowledge, you met that intention.
Correct.
And and
Correct.
so I need to understand. I just, can you share with us a little bit of whatever
Mhm.
that was that even got to that place, and even that
Mhm.
patience and persistence to even what you seeded then and what you're experiencing now, even from your 1,500 man mark, I'll call it. Talk to us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I think it was a green drink or something. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
fruit. Yeah, that was good, man. Yeah, I need to go get another one. But yeah,
When you look, let's
uh,
get it on it. I got a new spot for you
yeah.
too.
Oh man.
But go
Okay,
ahead.
it
All
gets
right.
better. Um, so yeah, that was another thing I said to myself. Relationships, one I had learned at that point, were critical to development growth because not just it's like I don't even put out posts on LinkedIn or anything for likes. I put it out there because it comes from my heart first. And it's like, man, if I learn this, then I'd love to share it with other people, as they go along.
Mm-hmm.
So as I get it, I share it. But in terms of setting the goal, to be quite honest, I don't know exactly where that goal came from. It was more like
Mm.
I journal. So I wrote in there and I said, hey, I've left this space in order for me to really, well, you know what? No, it goes back to years ago. This one guy, he was like an executive in I forgot what industry he was in, but I think I asked him something about developing, growing business, and he said people have to know who you are. And it was so simple, it was
Mm.
almost complex. Because I'm like,
Wow.
wow, okay. So I never forgot that. And I said, well, now I'm in my own space. I'm responsible for I'm my own marketing, I'm my own everything.
Yeah.
So let me set an ambitious goal that's so high that I don't even know if I'm gonna meet it. I'm not doubting myself. I'm just saying that's a big goal.
Yeah.
So what happened? I actually had collected at that time. I think I had a spreadsheet with about 200 some people that I already knew.
Okay.
So that was my starting point.
Hmm.
And the goal was actually 1,000 people in a year.
Okay.
And that's either online, in person, however, but to develop a relationship
Hmm.
with people, not to just meet them and
Mm.
say, "Hey, that's cool, great."
Wow.
No, but to actually, like, I still text those people and I'm like, "Hey, just because we had coffee that one time doesn't mean, we can't. Let's keep this going. Let's not put and I say this in many forms. Let's not put a period on this. Let's keep it as a comma, you know."
Mm.
And I say that in life, don't put a period on your life when it's actually a comma.
Yeah.
And so um, I actually, it was the end of, I think, 2023, and I think it was like November, and I looked at my spreadsheet, and I looked at my business cards, and I said, "Wow, I'm at like 900 and something people that I've either met in person or online in some way. Did a Zoom, Zooms. I was just letting, hey, I really like what you're doing. Could I please have about 15, 20 minutes of your time? I'd love to let
Mm.
you know what I'm doing. Not because I wanted to just drum up business, but because I really wanted to know what folks were doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated with people that are living in their purpose.
Yeah.
In fact, there's very few that are living in their purpose. So if I
Wow.
saw something unique about that person, yes, I was reaching
Mm.
out. And still to this day, still, so I just stayed on it and I held myself accountable. Each week I'm on my spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, wow. But I didn't do it just for a number. I did it
Yeah.
because we are humans and humans do business with humans.
Yeah.
And we need each other more than we think.
Wow.
So I really appreciate that question because it was like just one of those internal, you got, do it,
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
those goals.
Yeah. I love it. And are you
Yeah.
seeing fruit from those 1,000 connections?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it absolutely am. And it shows up in different ways, in different
Sure.
forms.
Sure.
It was me going out doing free trainings at libraries. It was me going out doing, like,
Yeah.
it was something I noticed about two things about a lot of successful people or people that have achieved some degree of success in their life. Many times, even the billionaires, they started out for free.
Wow.
A lot of them did. They're
Mm.
in their garage, right? Tinkering around with stuff and in a little, hut, pretty much,
Mhm.
just ideas. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
And the other thing about successful people is they did not stop.
Mm. That's good.
They didn't stop. They knew what they said, here's what I'm gonna do, and I'm not stopping until I get there,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it
Wow.
hurts.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's the advice I think that we can give somebody too when you feel like I think that there's an inner tugging, there's a spot where I just feel like the divine is leading me. And I agree with Coach Soyica. Start and don't stop. That's actually I reached out to a pretty well known podcast host when I first started. And I think this is episode 62, if my mind serves for
Mm.
me correctly. But when I said, would you give me some advice? What would you give me for a new person? And that's exactly what he said. He said, I tell you to start and don't stop. That's point
Okay.
blank, right? And
Hmm.
so that's the word for somebody who feels like maybe they're stuck, feels like maybe they're unsure of what their next steps are or anything else like that, or you're waiting for this or you're waiting for that. Our encouragement is to start because you don't have to have it perfect. You just got to have it. You just got to start it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll
Just got to
meet
start.
people along the way to help you and that recognize what they see, that ambition, that drive. When
Yeah.
you see somebody comes in your office and they got, you can see it in their eyes, you can see through their, almost through their body into their spirit,
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, Coach Christian, I really want to do this thing,
Yeah.
and they're talking with depth about it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
they're coming from the core,
Mhm.
and it's hard to tell that person no. you know,
Mm.
it's hard to say, you know, I see your energy. You know what? I'm gonna just, if I don't know anybody, I'm gonna connect you with somebody.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, so, but it all starts in the mind.
I
It
love it.
really does. Yeah.
I love it, man. Look, this has been a blast, and I really can talk to you and talk to you and talk to you. But I want the people to find you, and so can you tell us where we can find you on social?
Mm. Oh yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Soyica Life on Instagram, and
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn. Um, you can just go and name search Soyica White or Soyica W. Soyica is how you spell my name, which right there. So, but and then my website, thesoyicaexperience.com. And on there you can reach me by phone, email, through my website as well. So, but yeah, yeah,
S-
definitely. I encourage people, if you have any questions, reach out.
Soika.
Yes, sir.
I heard you had to say your name. You've never corrected me. I've been saying Soika.
You know what? It's fine. I get it both
You now
ways.
you sound like my wife, right? Her name is Lanisha, and we did an episode. Somebody said Lanisha and this, and she just it's okay. So Soika.
Yeah, Soyica. Yeah, is
All
actually
right.
the
Yeah, got that.
pronunciation.
All
Yeah,
right,
Soyica.
I got it now. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
got
good.
it.
What I love is I love to invite our guests to leave us with a word of empowerment that we can take with us throughout the week. So Soika, would you please give us something that we can just take with us from there, something that's burning in your heart, something that would empower the people.
Um, I mentioned it earlier, but I really, from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. There's somebody out there. I don't know. I don't know who this is for, but um, there's somebody out there that's really on the edge of something. You know, and in your heart what that, you're supposed to take this step to that'll bring you to greatness. So just when you feel like things, you've hit this wall, don't stop. Right there, you're right there. Just take the step. I've been there, and that's a whole nother conversation, but I've been to the dark place. I have visited, excuse me, the dark place. I didn't stay there. I visited, and what I learned, like I said earlier, was never place a period where it's really just a comma. And let's
Mm.
don't complicate life. Don't complicate the process. You know, this is going to take you to your next step. Reach out to that person, reached out, let people know who you are, but keep going. It's right there. Please. I have been there. So I know exactly where a lot of people are standing right now. And I just encourage you. You were brought here. We need what you have. And I'll leave. Miles Monroe said this. I believe it's Miles Monroe. I believe it's him. But he said, if you don't recognize your gift or bring your gift forth, then consider yourself a generational thief, because there's something inside of you that our creator brought you here at this time and space that we need from you. So yes, you have something of value inside of you. Whoever this person is, I'm addressing, don't know who it is, but there's something inside of you that we need. You are that needle in the haystack. Put yourself at the top of the haystack, because we need you. We need to see you. So please, I encourage you, keep going. Do it.
Soyica, I am grateful for you, man. I thank you for sharing your gift with us. Elevation Nation, I want you to follow him on social media. I want you to go ahead, if you're in the area, look, get a cut and or some coaching. You can get both. Look on his site. And bro, I just thank you for sharing your gift with us. So we really greatly appreciate that. So Elevation Nation, what is it your inner tugging calling you to do? Like, we want you to take one step toward setting that intention and go after it. He had a 12-year-old tugging that has led and guided. Now he's traveling on a regular basis. Now he's cutting hair and giving career coaching, and he's doing all types of things. We're encouraging, do not give up. Continue to move forward. Be all that you were called and compelled to be. And listen up, if you haven't already, right? We're getting close to this. This early bird registration is about to go up, and Coach Soyica is going to be joining us as some of our coaches in our kickoff as we're dealing our 25 days of peace, power, and pleasure in the Pleasure is All Mine challenge. So we are inviting you to join us in an incredible a team of coaches who are community minded and like minded emerging leaders that are going to join with us, journey with us. And some of these things that we couldn't talk about, that we're talking about, that could be another episode, it probably will come out in there. All right. And so you can get a copy of my new book, The Pleasure is All Mine, and just make sure that you are checking out the link that is going to be in the area of our social media profiles, as well as in the description here. But I'm talking, we got reflective exercises. We have live sessions that are going on for 25 days straight. Surprise guests. We have just things designed to help you elevate your mindset and align, keyword, right, with your highest self for the year ahead. All right. This challenge begins on January 1st. Registration is open now. So join us as we continue to move forward. All right. So Elevation Nation, you're amazing. Coach Soyica, thank you so much for sharing your gift. And we will continue to connect. We'll continue to talk. We will continue to do life together. You are amazing, brother.
Likewise. And thank you for the work you're doing. It comes from the core. And align yourself with people who living in their purpose or going there. So thank you so much for all you're doing as well.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Elevation Nation, may good, great, and awesomeness continue to flow to you and through you all week long. All right. Blessings.
Blessings.